He dictates when they go to the bathroom? I'm sure you've heard the term, when you gotta go, you gotta go. So, like, you dictate when your wife is going to the bathroom? Like, uh, this is how women get bladder infections if we don't go to the bathroom in time. What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel for another segment of Infinite Cringe. And today we're going to be looking into a very weird video that I found of some pastor dude that's saying some really weird things that are pretty hard cringe. So I wanted to watch this video and react to it with you. So, by the way, this guy, his name is Pastor Joel Webbin, and he's the leader of the Right Response Ministries and Covenant Bible Church. And this is what he had to say.
There are certain books that I've just had to say, hey, I don't know if this is a bad book, but I don't have time to read it. And so you're not going to read it either. We'll read it together. I remember recently my wife had a book and I saw her reading it on the couch. And it was about pedobaptism. And I said, no, we're not doing that yet.
What?
We will become pedobaptists when I'm ready. But my wife's not going to be a pedobaptist for 3 years before I am. And I don't have time to read it right now. I know the arguments will be great. I will agree and disagree. I'm not sure which arguments are better. But for the time being, this is what I'm persuaded of. And you're not going to outpace me. And that's not, for the record, that's not lazy.
You're not going to.
It can be. And you have to be honest with yourself and discerning of your motives. But that's not inherently lazy. This is one of the problems that I remember experiencing early in ministry.
By the way, so he catches his wife reading a book, and he's like, "I'm not ready to read it, so you're not going to be reading it yet." It sounds weird when you hear it at first, because you're just like, okay, well, what? Why is this? Why do you have to kind of like dictate to your wife what she's allowed to read or not? And then, well, I looked up what Padeo baptism is, by the way. I had no idea because I'm not a Christian. And for those that don't know, infant baptism or Padeo baptism is the practice of baptizing infants or young children. Infant baptism is also called christening by some faith traditions. So that's what Padeo baptism is. So this woman is reading a book about Padeo baptism. And because her husband doesn't have the time to read it yet, that's a no-no. So she has to stop reading it. She has to stop bettering herself, stop improving herself about whatever she wants to learn about, because the man is not ready to read it yet. And the man dictates what can and can be done. Let's keep going.
The young man with lots of other young men filled with zeal for doctrine, zeal for theology, is that they would go around, they'd be reading something, learning something, listening to something, and they would go around the church. And they'd be talking to every household and every individual in the church about this thing that they've been convicted of for 15 minutes. And they would try to be charitable, and they actually thought this was charitable. And they'd say, well, you don't have to agree with me in my position. I do think it's right, but you don't have to agree with me in the position that I've taken. But you have to have a position.
Okay.
Now, what that's called is tyranny. That's tyranny. Do you know why? You might say, well, they're not dictating the position. This is why it's tyranny. Because what you are doing is you're dictating that person's study habits. You're dictating the very hours in their day.
You were doing that to your wife, kind of like that.
I do that with 4 people.
Oh.
I don't do that with you, and I'm your pastor. It would be tyranny. I do not have that authority.
Okay.
Pastors have a very limited scope of authority outlined specifically in the scripture.
Okay.
I have 4 people in my life that I dictate the hours in their day. I dictate what time they go to the bathroom, when we eat, what we wear.
Hang on, pause. He dictates when they go to the bathroom. He dictates when his wife and his kids go to the bathroom. Well, first of all, I don't know how you would ever do that, like in terms, especially for kids. Like when you gotta go, you gotta go. You turn you you've heard, I'm sure you've heard the term, when you gotta go, you gotta go. I don't think no kid is waiting around like, Dad, can I go to the bathroom yet? Like they're just gonna pee their pants. Now, with regards to the wife, that's a whole different ball game. So, like, you dictate when your wife is going to the bathroom. Like, this is how women get bladder infections if we don't go to the bathroom in time. There's all sorts of medical situations going on with this, where you like that's abusive. Like this is not just like, oh, I'm being a good leader and I'm leading you. I'm telling you what to do and what not to do. This is called being abusive. Dictating when someone has to go to the bathroom. You're no longer a good husband or partner. You're now a dictator and an abusive person.
They are my children.
Your wife's not your kid.
Those are the people that I have almost limitless authority with. As just a
Almost.
rule of thumb, a general principle, if you're trying to understand authority, first start with spheres. There are
Okay.
three primary spheres that are all forms of government.
Okay.
There is civil government, ecclesiastical, that's the state, ecclesiastical government,
Okay.
that's the church, and familial government. And it is a government. That's the home, the family, households. In these three spheres, they are not a hierarchy. It is not the state, then the church.
The familial government where you can dictate what your wife reads and when and what time she goes to the bathroom. Who wants to be part of that? So that was the clip. I thought it was a bit spicy. Definitely some spicy ideologies there. And I'd be really, really curious to know what you guys think about that, because especially the religious people among us, what they think about that. And do you guys dictate when and what time your wife goes to the bathroom, or what they read, or how even your kids can you dictate when and what time a child goes to the bathroom? I really do wonder these things. So it's really interesting to me where you guys land and what you guys think about all this. Let me know in the comments down below. It's going to be a fascinating discussion, I'm sure. And until next time, peace, everybody.